And we appreciate you being here. So yes, I'm going to pass then to Lindsay Laird, and I'll be on mute. If anyone needs anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll put my name and information back in the chat in just a moment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. Who is the host of this meeting so we can start recording?
I will start recording. It's recording now.
Thank you, Mr. Whitfield. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lindsay Laird, and I'd like to call the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth meeting to order. It's May 21st, 2021 at 9:03 a.m. All right, I would like to thank and welcome everybody for their participation today. In order to make this hybrid meeting a little bit more personal, let's go through introductions, starting with the commissioners. Let's start with the participants we have in the room, and then we'll go to those commissioners on Zoom. If you'll please introduce yourself and then share your role on the commission, starting with you, Dr. Kurth.
Hello, I'm Kaylee Kurth. I am from out in Weatherford. I represent the PAR board, so the post-adjudication review as a foster parent with an agency.
Rachel Holt, Executive Director for the Office of Juvenile Affairs.
Melinda Front, Director of the Department of Rehabilitation Services.
Excellent. And I will call you by name for those who are attending via Zoom. Superintendent Hofmeister.
Hi, thank you so much for the chance to be with you today.
District Attorney Marcy.
Angela Marcy, I'm the district attorney for District 2, which includes Custer, Beckham, Washita, and Roger Mills counties.
Thank you, DA Marcy. Commissioner Wilson.
Good morning, this is Brad Wilson. I'm an attorney in Ardmore, Oklahoma. I am the representative on the commission for the Oklahoma Bar Association.
Thank you for being here. Commissioner Hall.
Good morning, Jonathan Hall in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm representing business and industry on the commission.
Thank you. Secretary Corbett.
Hi there, Kevin Corbett, Secretary of Health and Mental Health and also CEO of the Healthcare Authority.
Thank you. Do we have any other commissioners on Zoom? Okay. Commissioner Schneider, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. John Schneider, Youth and Family Services Incorporated over in El Reno, and also representing the Association of Youth Services.
Thank you. And I'm Lindsay Laird, and I'm appointed by Senate Pro Tem Greg Treat as a member with a demonstrated interest in improving child services who is not employed by a state agency or a private organization that receives state funds. Is that all the commissioners we have?
There's one more.
Judge Warren. Yay! Glad you're here. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Warren. I represent the Oklahoma Supreme Court and I'm chair of the Juvenile Justice Oversight Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Judge. Any other commissioners? Perfect. Ms. Jett, would you please confirm which commissioners you heard for quorum purposes?
I have Secretary Corbett, Director Front, Commissioner Hall, Superintendent Hofmeister, Director Holt, Dr. Kurth, Commissioner Laird, District Attorney Marcy, Commissioner Schneider, Judge Warren, and Commissioner Wilson.
Can you confirm we have quorum?
Is that confirmed? And yes, we do. We're 11.
Thank you. Mr. Whitfield has been gracious enough to help us facilitate introductions of staff and guests. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Whitfield.
Fantastic. I'd like to start with the director of OCCY.
Good morning. I'm Annette Jacoby, and I work here at the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth.
Assistant director.
Oh, you may be in the small conference room.
Okay, we'll come back. We do have Assistant Director Mark James with us.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. This is Mark James from Children and Youth.
Thank you. If I could then go to the program manager of the Child Death Review Board and then your staff to follow.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Rhodes. I'm the program manager for the Oklahoma Child Death Review Board. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Good morning. I'm Liz Kopp. I'm the case manager for the Child Death Review Board.
And do we have one more member of the Child Death Review Board with us? I believe we have Joseph McGrath is with us. He may be looking for the mute button as well. Welcome. Let's see if we could then go next to the program manager for the Office of Juvenile System Oversight and any of your staff that are present. So we do have Tina Pendergraft. She is a program manager for the Office of Juvenile System Oversight. I do not see any other staff from that program. If we could then go to the program manager for Post Adjudication Review Board.
Hi, this is Keith Pirtle, program manager for the PART program.
And Mr. Pirtle, I don't see any of anyone else from your department. Okay. If we could then go to the program manager for the Office of Planning and Coordination.
Good morning. My name is Danielle Dill, and I serve as the program manager for the Office of Planning and Coordination. And pleasure to be with everyone this morning.
Good morning. This is Adrienne Elder. I'm project coordinator for the Parent Partnership Board. Thank you.
I apologize if there is some feedback. Ms. Lorenz and I are in the same office to moderate the event. The joys of virtual living right there. My name is Jimmy Whittyfield Jr. I am the program manager for the Freestanding Multidisciplinary Teams Department here at OCCY. And then we have our administrative department. If we could start with our executive secretary, then go to the office manager, and then the public information officer.
My name is Amanda Jett, and I am the assistant to Director Jacoby.
My name is Chera Taylor. I am the office coordinator for OCCY.
I'm Rob Agnew, and I am the public information officer for OCCY.
Terrific. Have I missed anyone from the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth?
My name is Betty Hawkins. I am a parent liaison for the OCCY.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. It's so good to see you. You just seem like a member of the family here. So I'm sorry I didn't get you recognized as a part of OCCY. Oh, we also have our legislative liaison. I'm so sorry.
No worries. I'm Jennifer Harden, the legislative liaison for OCCY. It's good to be here.
We only get to see Jennifer in passing because she's so busy at the Capitol.
Yes. It's almost over though. One more week.
I'm going to do my, and then we also have Adrienne, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
She did.
Okay, sorry. That's what I get for trying to split my attention 10 ways, right? We have a guest from the Attorney General's office, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. Assistant Attorney General Amanda Everett, counsel for OCCY.
Wonderful. Beth from the Oklahoma State Department of Health, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good morning, Beth Martin from the State Health Department, Director of Family Support and Prevention Services. Thank you for having me today.
We have someone here to provide some technical support, I believe, for Superintendent Hofmeister, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
And it's Jeremy Irons. He may have stepped away,
Okay.
but thank you.
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
Jeremy, there you are. All right.
Excellent. And I'm looking through the list. I believe we're ready to move on to public guests. There's someone named Lauren Gardner. Lauren Gardner, if you'd like to unmute, you can introduce yourself. We'll come back to you. Lou, if you'd like to unmute yourself and do a brief introduction.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Lou Leek. I represent Commissioner Carrie Bloomer for Oklahoma County District 1. I am her Community Outreach Director, and I am very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And then we have Tori Lohan, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
It's Lahan.
Oh, I'm sorry,
God
Lahan.
bless. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. God bless. I
I'm here actually thankful to be a part of this, and I just pray that this these matters get resolved, you know, in a peaceful way. And I have faith that God has built these bridges.
Well, thank you for being here, Mr. Lahan, and there'll be an opportunity for public comment soon. We also have Brenda Loggins, if you'd like to introduce yourself. Ms. Loggins, you'll need to unmute yourself. We'll come back. Sid Brown.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Brenda Loggins, and I'm here as an individual. And I thank you for this opportunity to speak today. My subject is hope with action. We've all been through so much as of late, but things are getting better, but we have a long way to go. And so we can have hope, but hope with actions to do that which is right for each other, our state, and our country.
And Ms. Loggins,
I always say together we're better because I truly believe that.
Ms. Loggins, I'm sorry.
I've
I'm
always
going to
spoken,
interrupt really
openly.
quick.
Pardon?
I'm going to interrupt. We'll have an opportunity for public comment here in just a moment. We're doing introductions right now.
Okay, sorry.
So no, you're okay. Lots of excitement and eagerness, and we appreciate that. Sid Brown, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Been around for a while. I officially am part-time attorney and director of criminal justice, full-time at Oklahoma Christian University. I've taught in criminal justice about 25 years. Former member of the commission for 11 years, almost 11 years.
Thank you. Sherry Fair.
I'm sorry. This is Sherry Fair, and I'm the Executive Director with Parent Promise, Prevent Child Abuse. Thank you.
Excellent. Chairperson Laird, I believe that is everyone I see in the participant list. If I've missed anyone, please speak up now.
Yes, we have a few guests in the room today, so we'll start with Mr. Dorman.
Joe Dorman, Oklahoma Institute for Child Advocacy.
Jill Geiger Consulting. This is my colleague Siobhan Curry. Thank you for being here. We will move on to agenda item number 3. Thank you to our guests who are here today to offer public comment. I believe that Mr. Whittyfield mentioned before the meeting started, you will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment. First, we have Ms. Brenda Loggins. Ms. Loggins, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just want to speak to the matter of hope with action. We've all been through so much and things are getting better, but we have a long way to go. And we can all have hope, but hope with actions to do that which is right for each other, our state, and our country, because together we are better. I've always spoken openly, honestly, and as in-depth as time allows. We cannot be better if we do not take responsibility for our imperfect self and social problems, decent and in order. And collectively, I think each of you individually as well as collectively, all the hard work that you do, and it is hard work. Our imperfect self has the innate ability to know right from wrong, truth from lies, good from bad. We were created to know. None of us are perfect. We are fractured and dysfunctional, just at different levels. I'm thankful that the call is to try to be the best of who we can be. We have to have courage and intervene when we see someone misbehaving poorly or making mistakes or engaging in wrong things at home, work, or in our society. As leaders, the head has to be the head. You don't get to delegate to someone else. So I look to see that issues are dealt with transparency and accountability. Our social problems are many and at an all-time high critical level. And it's by nature to resist change, no matter what it is. Societal resistance to change is not surprising, nor is it anything new. And it can manifest itself in a number of ways: talking, arguing, violence, denial, ignoring, and so on. We can have hope with actions for successful solutions, but we have to put the work in to bring about societal reform. However, I am concerned by the behaviors that I have been seeing that's taking place by some individuals and groups in the manner in which they are attempting to go about addressing some of the various problems. So today I would ask that we all please stay focused. We're in the process of making Oklahoma a top 10 state, and we can. As we put forth the effort and work, decent and in order, social problems will be addressed within this process of becoming a top 10 state. Just be honest, kind, patient with self and with others. And it's so important to show compassion and empathy,
And Ms.
they are
Loggins,
different.
you have just a few
So-
seconds left.
As I close, I just want us all to just keep trying to be the best that we can be, and patience and love, and have an expectation that hope with action will bring successful solutions. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Ms. Loggins. I'd like to move on to
You're very
Mr. Tory Lahan. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Lahan, are you available to provide public comment?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I wound up.
No
back on.
worries.
Ma'am, Miss Brenda, that was very well articulated. God bless you, and God bless us all. We're supposed to love the people and hate the evil, and out of gentleness, peace, and love, we're supposed to correct these misfortunes that we've all fell upon. And it's a travesty to see the situation from a parent's view, as my kids have went through a horrible ordeal, and I have went through one too. And as I have done my best to articulate through this stress, through these anxieties, and through this depression, and to be told that I have anger management problems when my therapist labels me as anxiety and depression, if we can't get the foundation set right, how are we supposed to build this community to help us raise up past the 45th worst state in DHS, one of the worst states for children? And as we move forward, that's why I said I have faith that God's building these bridges. As I would like to properly present information to the board of documentation, not in my handwriting at all, for y'all to review, for y'all to understand about how a judge told me how they cannot change another judge visitation orders, to where DHS used a false information to refuse me visitation. And I have that documented through Gmail and through a lot of other resources. And so I am looking forward to moving forward in this professionally and appropriately. And I pray in God's time, because this, we need to move past this. This right here is our children. It's my children, and your children get affected through it the same way. Because if your kids go to school with my children who are affected, then they get affected too. It ripples. And so I have faith that this is going to reciprocate and duplicate in a godly way, in the godly light. So, however I can get to talking to somebody to present to you documentation of, I mean, I don't like using the word manipulation, but when I have done my best to make sure that my children are protected and to be treated the way that I have, it's hard. I mean, it's especially for my children to be denied of me over false accusations of a VPO that was never granted and still is not granted today. I mean, accountability, when somebody's looking into these actions, are they just looking at the paperwork, or are they making phone calls? I don't know, but I would like to reach an olive branch out and show how I've done my work and help other people move on past this.
Mr. Lahan, your time is up. I'm sorry.
That's cool. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Lahan. Mr. Joe Dorman, your public comment, 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'm still wearing my mask because I have not received my second vaccination because of, I had COVID and had to do the antibody infusion treatment. So looking forward to 2 weeks from now. So just wanted to say thank you to all the commissioners. This has been an exciting couple of weeks, month for a lot of commissioners. Congratulations to Commissioner Holt for being officially bona fide by the state Senate and being official as the director for OJ. So congratulations. We're very much looking forward to working with you. Commissioner Corbett, congratulations on the long wait being over on what's going to happen with OCCY going forward with the work you'll be doing for your clients. I know that's been stressful this session. Other commissioners, I know it's been an exciting session as a lot of bills have been passed that deal with each of your areas of expertise directly. It's been a pleasure for OCCY to work on children's issues. We adopted the legislative list for OCCY into our legislative list, so it was a pleasure to work with you all on those issues. One more week. I know your legislative liaison is going to go over what happened, but I just wanted to say on behalf of our board and our staff, it's always great to work with you. We love having you here in the building with us and look forward to very many more years working together. The main thing I wanted to be here for is the interim study season is upon us, where the lawmakers will look at interim studies and discuss ideas that may be important for legislation that's been heard in the past or legislation that might be discussed going forward. OCCY is taking submissions for interim studies. So if any of the commissioners would share that with your clientele, go to our website, oicca.org. Individuals can submit that information. We're going to share with lawmakers who have concerns of interest in those areas with those interim studies and see if we can encourage more public discussion this summer on some of those bills. And with that, I do want to say, Commissioner Hofmeister, Superintendent Hofmeister, thank you for inviting both Annette and I to your press conference. We are very much looking forward to the summer work that you're going to be doing and hope we can be a part of that and help you in any way we can.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the work you do on behalf of Oklahoma's children. I believe I want to take a moment to go back to introductions. We have a guest that we may have missed. Ms. Wanda Felty, are you still on? And if so, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, thank you for that. I'm Wanda Felty. I work at the Center for Learning and Leadership, which is Oklahoma's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disability. I'm a former commissioner, and I'm proud to be here and support y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Felty. Are there any other guests who have joined us since introductions that would be able to come off mute and introduce themselves?
Yes, we have another commissioner that's joined us, Jackie Aaron, and then it looks like we have a guest from the Muscogee Nation as well.
Commissioner Aaron, would you introduce yourself? Commissioner Aaron, you may be on mute.
Okay. Hello, sorry about that. I'm Jackie Aaron. I'm with CASA, and I am with CASA of Western Oklahoma. So we cover 5 counties in the western part of the state. I am also the parent of a young adult with disabilities. So I say young adult, he's 26 and he has Down syndrome. So kind of see different areas in with OCCY.
Thank you, Commissioner Aaron. And I believe Deputy Secretary Carmin Tecumseh-Williams is on.
Good morning, everyone. It's very nice to join you. Thank you for the invitation. I am Carmin Tecumseh-Williams, and I am the Deputy Director of Community and Human Services and serve with our Secretary, which is Miranda Carmin, under Chief David Hill here at the Muscogee Nation.
Thank you, Deputy Director. All right. Any other guests?
Was I supposed to tell something about myself?
Yes, yes, please go right ahead. Your bandwidth is low. Perhaps if you, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Well, I'll say.
There you are. Deputy Director, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you, and it may be mine, so.
Perhaps if you turn off your video and you went audio only, that may increase your bandwidth. Maybe. I know we'll be hearing from you later on in today's agenda. Okay. Or let Jimmy. Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4. We're going to discuss the review and approval of minutes from the March 12th, 2021 regular commission meeting. The meeting minutes were provided in your packet. Are there any amendments or corrections to the minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Schneider. Do I have a second? Any final discussion? All right, Ms. Jett, please take the vote.
Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
Yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird.
Yes.
Has District Attorney Marcy returned? I know she stepped away. Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Great. Motion passes. All right. Next, we have a presentation and approval of the finance report from Ms. Brandy Boehm. Ms. Boehm, would you please present the financial report?
Good morning. Do I need to share my screen or you all have a copy?
We do have a copy, but if it's able to be shared, that would be great. Mr. Whittyfield?
Of course. So Ms. Boehm, you can find the share button in the bottom center of your Zoom window. There's a little up arrow. There you go.
Okay. Okay, good morning. These reports are as of April 30th, and I will start with the budget to actuals report. We budgeted $5,429,000, $223. To date, we have spent $2,648,933.99. We have encumbered $352,987.55. Those pre-encumbrances were overstated, so we've had those reduced since then, but they are $19,501. So we have an annual variance of $2,407,800.02. On our budget our allotment budget and available cash. We had $911,404.71 in our appropriated fund, which is the 191. We had $866,412.51 in our revolving 200 fund. And then $477,853.90 in our 210 fund. And then in our, which gave us available cash of $2,255,671.12 in our summary of receipts and disbursements. You should see the same number for the 191 fund, which is the $911,404.71. Then we shouldn't see anything until the 200 fund. We have the $866,412.51. And then the 210, we have the $477,853.90. And that should be it. Everything else should be zeroed out.
Thank you, Ms. Boehm. Commissioners, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Boehm on the financial report? All right. If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Front. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Superintendent Hofmeister. Any final discussion? Ms. Jett, please take the vote.
Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
Yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird,
Yes.
District Attorney Marcy, has she returned? She's not. Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Okay, our next agenda item is number 6 in regards to Director Jacoby's performance review. Now, how this is going to work is it's a little bit different since we will be entertaining a motion to go into executive session to discuss her performance review and any other matters related to her employment with the commissioners. Following that discussion, we will exit executive session and come back to the public meeting where members of the Personnel Committee will provide a statement to the public. Commissioners attending via Zoom, if the motion passes, you will be asked or directed to a private breakout room. Please be on the lookout for that and click on the button. At that point, we will enter a private breakout room for executive session. Do we have any questions from the commissioners before I entertain a motion to enter executive session? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved, Warren.
Thank you, Judge Warren. Second?
Seconded.
Who was that second?
Brad Wilson.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. We'll take the vote.
Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
Yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird,
Yes.
District Attorney Marcy. I don't think she's come back yet. Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Mr. Whittyfield, will you be on the lookout for when DA Marcy returns? Will the cue for her to enter the breakout session appear on her screen?
I've already assigned commissioners to the executive session breakout room, and so Commissioner Marcy will automatically be zoomed into that room.
Wonderful. All right, we're ready to go.
Yes, and it's not cold anywhere else. Right, seriously. I can try. We can try. We had. That's why you wear a suit. I know. Layers. You know.
Downside of that.
Yeah, there is. Yes. And they don't make them. You can't get a good jacket that's not mine, right?
Not a good one.
Not a good one.
Not a good one.
Although, you can get a good jacket. We're over here, Island. Nice.
Waiting on Director Jacoby to come right back.
Let's do that. Thank you.
We're gonna try to adjust the temperature, but it's
fine.
it is always really cold in here. All you have to do is step right there. It's very different.
All right. First order of business is we need to exit executive session. So I will entertain a motion to exit executive session.
So moved.
Warren.
Second, Joy Hofmeister.
Judge Warren with the first and yeah.
Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Dr. Front,
Yes,
or I said Director Front, my finger's covering it.
it's fine, yeah, yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird.
Yes.
District Attorney Marcy.
She's back.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
We're back in a minute.
All right, excellent. We are out of executive session. And I'm going to ask Director Holt to provide an update on behalf of the Personnel Committee.
The Personnel Committee that was formed was led by our chair, Lindsay Laird, and then Commissioner Front, Commissioner Snyder, and myself. I want to thank Chair Laird for her amazing work in establishing this process, getting us through this process, and I enjoyed being a part of it. We sent surveys out to all OCCY employees, and we had 21 out of 22 respond. We also sent surveys out to all commissioners, and then even our 4 most recent past commissioners in order to provide feedback. And then Director Jacoby herself did a self-evaluation. The Personnel Committee met and reviewed all of those surveys and all of the comments and levels on them. And then we met with Director Jacoby and had a great conversation with her and talked with her through the results. She has established a set of deliverables and goals moving forward. And then we just met in executive session to share all of that as a commission. And so I would move that we approve the personnel review for Director Jacoby.
So moved.
I think we're ready for the vote.
Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
I'm trying, Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
Yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird,
Yes.
District Attorney Marcy,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Commissioner Schneider?
All right, based on the results of Director Jacoby's performance appraisal, which was just now approved, I would like to make a motion that we increase her salary by 4.5%, bringing it to $103,142, which is approximately 50% of the authorized salary pay band.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Judge Warren. Any discussion? All right, we'll take the vote.
I would like to just say I commend our Executive Director Jacoby for all of her work and coming through the pandemic at a time where everyone was stretched. And we know those that are served by the work of the commission were stretched even further, and I appreciate the leadership.
Don't want to rush this. If anybody else has comments before we take the vote. Great, thank you. Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
Yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird. Yes. District Attorney Marcy,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
motion passed. Thank you, Ms. Stroud. We are now on agenda item number 8, and I'm excited to turn it over to Superintendent Hofmeister to present the Ready Together Oklahoma plan to support students through the pandemic and beyond. Thank you, Superintendent Hofmeister. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It is wonderful to get to be with you. And I do want to thank both Executive Director Annette Jacoby, as well as I know in the room was also Joe Dorman, who were among those who stood shoulder to shoulder together at a press conference, launching a series of announcements that we'll be making to support our students. So after a long and difficult year living through the global pandemic, the light at the end of the tunnel continues to brighten with each passing day. As we return to normalcy, we stand together with our school leaders and teachers, ready to do the hard work necessary to ensure our students have the tools needed for success. It was Picasso who once said, "Our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There is no other route to success." Our route to success starts with an innovative long-term plan for accelerated learning now that the worst impacts of the pandemic are behind us. That plan is Ready Together Oklahoma, a framework for supporting students through the pandemic and beyond. This is an action plan. Ready Together Oklahoma will be modified as we get a clearer picture of where our students are and what needs warrant the greatest and most immediate focus. These efforts will include initiatives to bolster accelerated learning, strengthen instruction, and address social and emotional needs fueled by more than a year of the pandemic. And this cannot be a summer like every other. Summer can still be about family and fun, of course, but our focus must be on unfinished learning, getting kids back on track academically, and supporting our young people who have been disconnected for so long and have weathered the social, emotional stresses and traumas associated with this past year. Like all states, Oklahoma has received millions of dollars in federal relief funds for education. This summer and looking ahead through the summer of 2023, we will invest at least $14 million in federal aid for summer enrichment. We are investing these dollars in 2 well-established and enduring nonprofits committed to safe, engaging programming for kids. The Oklahoma Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs and the Oklahoma Alliance of YMCAs have strong statewide infrastructures in place to jumpstart summer programming for thousands of Oklahoma school kids. So in the coming weeks, we will also launch a federal relief subgrant opportunity for nonprofits to provide similar enrichment opportunities that leverage out of school time once school begins in the fall. Other initiatives will follow as well. And we have, thankfully, in the state, over $2 billion to support our students as a result of the pandemic. We've also launched a recovery website at readytogether.sde.ok.gov. This site includes an introductory video and curated guidance supporting a holistic approach to student learning. The site features resources that are designed to support schools and communities as they determine the most effective uses of federal relief funds. And we have also created evidence-based guidance documents with links to establish to various links to established research for educators to consider as they implement programs that meet the needs of their communities and engage families and other stakeholders in supporting student learning and well-being. So Ready Together Oklahoma will grow and develop over time. Currently, all resources and documents are organized within 5 sections: student learning and success, prioritizing health and well-being, ensuring equity for all, engaging families and communities, and supporting teachers and leaders. Guidance documents will be published in 3 phases. Now and through the end of the school year, we're focusing on summer programming to recover unfinished learning in core subjects like math and reading, providing social emotional supports, and jumpstarting the 21-22 school year. June and July of 2021, we'll focus on academic and social emotional supports for a successful start to the next school year. And in August of 2021 and beyond, we'll focus on needs as they are identified through data, including academic and social emotional supports during the future school years as well. So as we educate kids through the pandemic and beyond, we will continue to emphasize what students must have to learn and thrive: strong child nutrition, challenging academic offerings, reliable transportation, extracurricular and enrichment activities that inspire them to do and be more, and the social, emotional connection and supports that provide the foundation for all of it to happen. Public education is a long-term commitment. We stand ready together to begin the post-pandemic era. And I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Superintendent. I do have a question regarding the federal relief subgrants.
Sure.
How will organizations go about finding opportunities for those throughout the state and their communities?
Very great question. So we will be posting this on that site, as well as making public announcements with press releases to let people know that those are available.
And approximately what was the timing for that?
That will start in the summer months, and may have a schedule of when notices will be given so that they can get that work initiated and started in the new school year. And then even through the school year, we'll be planning for the next summer and beyond. All of this work and money can stretch all the way into the final date of use is September 2024.
Oh, great.
The State Department of Education has currently in this 3rd tranche of funds just under $150 million to distribute for all of these various needs. And so we will be making a series of announcements coming up even later this month, and as the month of June starts, with some other state level initiatives we'll be doing too.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from commissioners?
I would like to mention one thing, and I'll just let those of you know that are here in this public meeting. We will be announcing something that I think you will be most interested in, and this will be coming very, very soon, with schools able to apply for a 50% match for a school counselor corps. And in that we will have also around $27 million for the academic counselors, and about $27 million for the mental health side of that, with licensed professional counselors and others that are licensed that will support mental health. That is around $55 million. And when you know that's a 50% match, we're really looking at well over $100 million then of impact over the next 3 years in the state, with additional support for students as we really work on the reconnection of social emotional needs.
I do actually have a question regarding that. I was really pleased to see the social and emotional supports. Could you talk more about the delivery for that and how you envision that taking place?
Some of this will be with employees that the district will be able to hire. And we have been needing more and more of our school counselors to reach the ratio of 250 students to one counselor in our schools. We are currently over 400 students per one counselor. But that is a guidance counselor. It could be a licensed professional counselor with academics as part of that. We would like to see also beyond the individual being hired in that role, also the expansion of contracts and services that they're able to procure or expand with existing contracts with mental health supports and services. So those could be independent agencies, organizations, or individuals who provide those services to schools.
Will those social and emotional supports be available for staff and faculty too?
Absolutely. In fact, we identify that as well.
That's wonderful. Superintendent, was there anything you wanted us to do with the draft resolution in the packet?
Yes, thank you. I would love to have the support of the commission. We would ask if you would consider a resolution of support for being one of our partners in the large scheme of how we will have an action plan and support our students for success through the pandemic and beyond. And we are certainly going to be counting on individuals, organizations, various sister agencies and commissions to help us do that work. And we would love to have your support, as we can't just expect a single classroom teacher to shoulder all of this on their own. This is going to take all of us to help our students be ready for their next grade level, ready for post-secondary pursuits, ready for life. And we know that happens day by day in classrooms with all of us working together to help our kids be ready.
Could you offer an example of the motion that you would like to hear from us?
Yes, there is a resolution that I believe you have, Chairman Laird. Let's see.
Yes.
It's this white piece of paper, I think.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
If somebody would like to offer to read it for perhaps guests who may not have it or commissioners that do not have it, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Kurth.
Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted Oklahoma children in unprecedented ways, creating social, emotional, and academic stresses resulting from disruptions to learning environments. And whereas these stressors have resulted in significant challenges to children's learning, social, emotional well-being, and sense of normalcy. And whereas research indicates that the impact of the pandemic has been most acute on historically underserved children and families, of which there are hundreds of thousands in the state of Oklahoma. And whereas the Oklahoma State Department of Education has taken a safety-first approach to responding to the pandemic challenges facing students and schools, first by releasing its Return to Learn, a framework for reopening school plan in spring of 2020. And whereas in May of 2021, as the pandemic's impact is waning in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma State Department of Health launched Ready Together Oklahoma, an action plan for supporting students through the pandemic and beyond, which will include leveraging federal relief funds on initiatives to bolster accelerated learning, strengthen instruction, and address the many social and emotional issues fueled by more than a year of the pandemic. And whereas the OSDE will continue to meet the needs of students, families, and schools as they expand the resources and initiatives in the Ready Together Oklahoma plan over time. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth lends its full support to the Oklahoma State Department of Education's Pandemic Recovery Initiative, Ready Together Oklahoma, an action plan for supporting students through the pandemic and beyond.
Thank you, Dr. Kurth. So I will entertain a motion to support. Thank you, Director Front.
I move that we support Ms. Hofmeister's agenda with this resolution.
Thank you, Judge Warren. Director Front, can we move yours to second? Thank you. Any final discussion? Thank you, Superintendent Hofmeister. We'll take the vote.
Secretary Corbett,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Front. Yes. Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Superintendent Hofmeister,
Yes.
Director Holt,
Yes.
Dr. Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Laird,
Yes.
District Attorney Marcy,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you so very much. And we appreciate the partnership. And we know this is going to be a heavy lift, but with great partners like all of you, we will get this done for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving right along. This is a nice segue into our next presentation from Ms. Martin. As many of you are aware, and actually Superintendent Hofmeister was just speaking to this, the state is receiving significant resources from the federal government as part of the COVID relief packages. Transparency around these funds and how they will be deployed is critical, and I'm grateful to also have Ms. Beth Martin here, who is the Director of the Family Support and Prevention Services for the Oklahoma State Department of Health. She's here today to talk about the federal community-based child abuse prevention, CBCAP, and the Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Grant, MCHIV. I look forward to hearing from other state agencies in future meetings about their plans to utilize these important resources as guidance is received from the feds. Director Jacoby, anything you'd like to add?
I would just like to say that these funds that Ms. Martin directs or administers are super important, particularly for the communities. And I just want to give a shout out for those in rural Oklahoma, because often we see a nice chunk of money where there are populations in Oklahoma City area and Tulsa. And we cannot forget about those kids that are in sparsely populated areas, because their ability to thrive is no less than anyone else. And sometimes it's harder to get services to them. That's why I think these flexible dollars to some extent are really important. So Ms. Martin, I'm really glad you're here, and look forward to hearing about all these additional dollars coming and the opportunities with it.
Ms. Martin, before you get started, if you could change your display settings so we don't see, and you can go to display settings in toward the upper.
Yes.
Correct. And then you'll just need to switch. There you go.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Is that right?
That
Got
is
it.
correct.
Okay.
And just a reminder, please do not interfere with the presentation at all in terms of annotating. I'll be monitoring to make sure I clear any marks that happen accidentally. Thanks, Ms. Martin.
Good morning, Chairperson Laird, Director Jacoby, commissioners, and guests. I am very pleased to present to you this morning a very small portion, but important portion of the American Rescue Plan Act regarding funds that will be or have already been made available to the Oklahoma State Department of Health through my area Family Support and Prevention Service. I want to talk about two particular initiatives. The first one is the community-based child abuse prevention grant. And sorry, I've got to have glasses. And that is referred to as CBCAP. And the other initiative, which I would like for you all to be aware of, is the Maternal, Infant, Early Childhood Home Visiting Grant, MCV, and I'll provide some information on that as well. I'm going to start with the CBCAP grant, and this is a grant that we've received at the State Health Department for quite some time, and it was developed to support community-based efforts, as Director Jacoby was talking about, local community efforts in all parts of the state to operate, expand, enhance, and coordinate initiatives, programs, activities to prevent child abuse and neglect. It is also available to foster understanding, appreciation, and knowledge of diverse populations in order to effectively prevent, treat child abuse and neglect. And this particular piece of legislation was authorized by CAPTA Title II. CAPTA is the Child Abuse Prevention Treatment Act. And then briefly, the other piece of legislation is the MCV legislation. And this is a opportunity to provide evidence-based voluntary home visiting to high-risk families and populations. It is designed to strengthen and improve programs and activities carried out under Title V of the Social Security Act. The design is to improve coordination of services with at-risk communities and identify and provide comprehensive services to improve outcomes for eligible families. Let's see. Oops. There we go. We're going to start with the CB-CAP grant. This one is a little bit difficult, so if you have questions, I'm happy to field those questions. The way this, the regular funds under the CB-CAP grant are appropriated is on an annual basis. The Consolidated Appropriation Acts of 2021 was voted on by Congress in December last year and provided $60 million to CB-CAP programs across the country. Oklahoma's award was $503,100. Now that's the base amount for the award, and that period of availability is from October of last year through September 30 of 2023. Regular CB-CAP appropriations are always made on a 3-year period of availability. However, the feds don't award those funds until the middle of the first year. So technically, the state has 2 years to spend those funds. And this base amount represents 70% of our total award. And it is based on the number of children under age 18 residing in the state. The other 30% of the CB-CAP regular allotment is based on leveraging of non-federal funds through private, state, and other non-federal sources. And we, as the identified agency to receive the funds, we are the agency that identifies which funds will be utilized. And so for an example, to give you an idea of how OSDH leverages this, we do it through millage and fee supported programs, as well as state programs in home visiting, which includes Children First, our OCAP programs, Parents as Teachers, Child Guidance, and the Heirloom Birth Certificate program. That is the regular appropriation for CB-CAP, which will continue. And we are in the process right now of writing that particular application to receive these awards late summer. ARPA provided a supplemental award, and Congress voted to provide $250 million in supplemental funding to CB-CAP. 1% of that was set aside for Indian tribes and tribal organizations and migrant programs, and continued funding of the National Center for CB-CAP. Oklahoma's supplemental award is $3,176,094. The period of availability is from last October, again, October 1st, 2020, through September 30th of 2025. So they are providing a 5-year period of availability for these funds. In this case, ARPA provides that 100% of the supplemental funds awarded by formula to the state lead agencies for CB-CAP programs will be allotted proportionately based on the number of children under the age of 18 residing in each state. Grants will be awarded to existing CB-CAP grantees, and no separate application is required to receive this funding. Let me tell you a little bit then about what CB-CAP monies can be used for. This is across both awards, regular CB-CAP and the new supplemental funds. They are keeping the scope within the CB-CAP legislation. So these funds can be used to develop, operate, expand, and enhance community-based and prevention-focused programs and activities designed to strengthen and support families to prevent child abuse and neglect. They must be accessible, effective, and culturally appropriate, and build upon existing strengths. And here are the list of existing strengths: offering assistance to families, providing early and comprehensive supports to parents, promoting parenting skills, increasing family stability, improving family access to resources, supporting needs of families and children with disabilities, involving parents in program planning, and providing referrals to early health and development services. Funds may also be used to foster the development of a continuum of preventive services for children and families, including unaccompanied homeless youth through state and community-based collaborations and partnerships, both public and private. I want to take just a second to talk about this particular comment of the continuum of preventive services for children and families. We have been in the last, I would say, 3 years before the pandemic, including the pandemic, and currently working very closely with our partners at the Department of Human Services, Child Welfare Division. This started with an initiative from the Children's Bureau to develop state team leads that included child welfare, the court system, and the CBCAP agency. And we have had several meetings. We were in Washington, D.C. for a few of those. We've had a virtual meeting since then to talk about how our services braid and interlap across the prevention continuum. CBCAP was developed and is utilized to provide the most preventive piece of that continuum. And we work with DHS to be on that line of services where we provide a lot of the support for frontline services that may be available to every parent in the state of Oklahoma. And then we move into those secondary services where families may need some assistance in regards to counseling or services through programs like our child guidance program and our home visiting programs. And then as families become more at risk and more in need of services, it moves into the realm of the Department of Human Services and what they provide to keep families from experiencing foster care and keeping those children in their homes. So as we talk about the continuum of prevention, the Health Department, Family Support and Prevention Service through this grant make available opportunities to provide that very the most primary aspect of prevention. Okay, now that I hope I've clarified a little bit of that. Other ways we can use CBCAP funds through our grants are financing startups, maintenance, expansion, and redesign of specific family resource and support programs, community-based child abuse and neglect prevention services, identified as unmet needs and integrated within the network of community-based family resources and support child abuse and neglect prevention programs. This particular aspect of the CBCAP funding is something that we have been looking at in the last year or two, particularly through our initiative of family resource centers. The State Health Department Family Support and Prevention Service is the designated lead for the National Family Support Network, which is the national network for family resource centers. Other uses for the funds: maximizing funding through leveraging of funds, financing, planning, community mobilization, collaboration, assessment, information, and referral and startup. There are a number of ways, and I'm not going to read this whole piece, but a number of ways that we can support families through evaluation efforts, trainings, getting the message out about child abuse prevention and providing communities with resources they need for what they need in their community. Another use of funds is to finance public information activities that focus on the healthy and positive development of parents and promotion of child abuse and neglect prevention activities. We have a large footprint in this arena. We have been blessed in the state of Oklahoma to have state-financed prevention programs such as home visiting and child guidance. We have been able to use our community-based child abuse prevention funds to provide this kind of public information and support for those ongoing programs. as you all know, April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. We have worked closely with our partners in Oklahoma, especially with our chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America, to recognize leaders in the state and make, as much of a public impact as we can, and bring awareness to child abuse and neglect prevention activities. Parent Promise is our local chapter for Prevent Child Abuse America in Oklahoma, and we work closely with them on all of these activities. So what you might really want to know is what we're planning to do with the $3 million that we have been awarded. I will tell you that we just received the notice of award last week, the correct notice of award last week. There was a little bit of back and forth with the feds, but we have received that notice of funding, and we intend to operate a three-prong plan to utilize these funds, and this is in the broad strokes, and we will be offering more detailed information as we go along. But first of all, we want to continue to collaborate with our partners and expand and enhance current projects and develop new initiatives. We have several things that are in the works right now that we have been through the state health department and our partner agencies piecemealing together with funds and that other partners have had available, that we've had available, and now we're going to be able to make a concerted effort with some of those projects. The second prong of the plan is to release an RFP and institute that process for the development of family resource centers, which will be available statewide to all communities in Oklahoma. And these family resource centers will be part of the National Family Support Network. And the third prong is to release another opportunity, an RFP process to, so we might have groups that don't want to become a family resource center, or they feel like they already have a grasp on that type of work in their community, but they might have a project that needs funding. Maybe they have something that they've been working on that they just haven't had the funding for to be able to provide. And so we want to give that opportunity across the state to local organizations to be able to fund those projects for them. So we will be releasing an RFP that will be available to any organization that may want to do a child abuse and neglect prevention project. I will say that these two opportunities for funding do not negate each other. If a family resource center wants to also apply for the second round of funding for projects, that is allowable. If somebody wants to apply to develop a family resource center and a project in particular, then that would also be allowable. What we want to do is push this money as much as we can into the communities, because they best know what their issues are and the gaps in their communities, and we want to strengthen and support families. And briefly, as kind of a group that will be involved in this, we have had over the last 3 years a biannual meeting of the Oklahoma State Plan for Child Abuse and Neglect, where we've brought our partners in twice a year to talk about the state plan for prevention. In the last year, we have also included DHS in their Family First work. And so we have this larger group that's interested in supporting families. And we are excited to say that that large group will be where we report out, get ideas, are able to bounce off ideas regarding how this funding may be used. I realize that these are pretty broad strokes, but considering that we have just received the funding opportunity, we're hopeful to have more information in the future. The second piece of legislation that I'd like to talk to you about is the Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Grant. OSDH is the recipient of this grant as well. And it is it has a couple of, it makes it a little bit easier in that the McVee grant also is a regular appropriation from HRSA actually. And it was also voted on for the regular appropriation in December of last year and was provided $342 million for the formula grants. In federal fiscal year 21, OSDH is eligible to request up to $6.6 million for that grant opportunity, and the period of availability is September 30th of this year for 2 years through September of 2023. So again, we are right in the process of writing this application. As the ARPA funds became available, HRSA has pushed this application back to the end of June. So it's now we have to have our application in June 30th, 2021. But that doesn't make it any easier because McVee is requiring a separate application for the ARPA funds. And that application is due June 2nd. So they just switched around our due date and doubled the work. So we are currently working on the supplemental application for McVee. There is no match or sharing for this particular, for either one. So for the regular appropriation or for the supplemental appropriation. ARPA provides $150 million in supplemental funding for McVee. Currently, they are only releasing $40 million of that allotment for application. So Oklahoma is currently eligible to request $745,397. That period of availability is the same as the regular availability from, well, I take that back. It's from May 1st of this year through September 30th of 23. So they made it available as soon as the notice of award was released. And this is one-time funding that will be awarded to existing McVee grantees to address the needs of expectant parents and families with young children during the COVID-19 public health emergency. And a separate application is due, which I talked about, and it's due June 2nd. So the difference here is that HRSA is requiring these supplemental funds to be used in alignment with the COVID-19 public health emergency. And we, as I said, are in the process of writing that application as well. McVee funds may be used to serve families with eligible delivery models. In Oklahoma, we provide funding to NFP, which is the National, I'm just blanking on NFP, but it's our C1 program. And go ahead, Annette, you're going to tell me?
Nurse Family Partnership.
Thank you. Gosh, I live and drink Nurse Family Partnership. Here I blank on it. So sorry. Nurse Family Partnership, and in Oklahoma, it's our Children First program. We also have Parents as Teachers, and we have Safe Care that we provide funding to through McVee. So this award can include service expansion to new families or new at-risk communities identified in the state through our needs assessment. And HRSA required a new needs assessment, which was submitted October 1st of 2020. And so all recipients of McVee funding have to be identified in the needs assessment. These funds can also be used to acquire necessary technological needs for families enrolled in the program and to conduct and support virtual home visiting. We have had as many of you have learned through Zoom and Teams, how to do a meeting virtually. We've had a very quick lesson on how to provide home visiting services that we've virtually. And so this grant will also support those activities. It also can be used to fund hazard pay or additional staff costs associated with providing home visiting or administration of programs. The funding may be used to develop, conduct, and evaluate training of home visitors that are employed in the by the recipient. And again, we can provide training in conducting virtual home visits, emergency preparedness, response planning for families, safely conducting intimate partner violence screenings, or safely planning for families served to improve family outcomes in the McVie benchmark areas. And this particular use of funds is has been pushed a lot by our federal partners, but we can provide emergency supplies such as diapers and things that are required and necessary, including all these formula, diaper rash, creams, food, water, hand soap to eligible families. And we can coordinate and provide reimbursement for supplies to diaper banks when using such entities to provide emergency supplies. The key here into supporting diaper banks is that Oklahoma only has currently three diaper banks in the state that are identified by the National Diaper Bank Network. McVie funds cannot be used to develop new diaper banks. And so that does limit our ability to support this work, although it's very important. It does limit our ability to provide those resources, although we're looking into that, how we can work through that system. And I believe this is the final use of the supplemental funds, is that we can provide prepaid grocery cards to eligible families participating in McVie services for the purpose of enabling the family to meet emergency needs. So that's an opportunity that's also been made available to us. Under the American Rescue Plan Act, for McVie, recipients must, which is the State Health Department, we must ensure that the modification of any grant, contract, or other agreements with our lead implementing agencies and subrecipients necessary to ensure that during the project period, that we do not reduce funding to these subrecipients because of staffing or because of program enrollment. This has been made very clear in several webinars we've been part of, that the pandemic has adversely affected our enrollment in home visiting, and McVie wants to continue to assure that these families receive the services that they need. We must also ensure that coordination with diaper banks when using funds to provide emergency supplies to eligible families to the extent possible. So they're encouraging us to work through the diaper bank system. In some states, this is going to be much easier. In Oklahoma, the three locations are Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Enid of the existing diaper banks. And so we're working to coordinate services with them. Recipients must reaffirm that in conducting the program, the recipient will focus on the priority populations. I'm not going to read all of these, but I have included the priority populations here on this slide. And this is for all McVie services. So I know that was a lot. I will entertain any questions. I've provided my contact information here for you if you would like to have that or ask any other questions. And I am open. Let's see how to unshare now.
Commissioners, we will all receive a copy of this presentation. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Martin?
Ms. Martin, this is Dr. Kurth. I do have a quick question regarding the diaper bank.
Yes.
Is it something that crisis nurseries could also be a part of? We have a couple of those in the state, and they distribute formula, diapers, wipes, clothing.
It could be if they are identified by the National Diaper Bank Network. I know that Infant Crisis Center in Oklahoma City, and I'm blanking on the one that is in Enid and the one that is in Tulsa. Those three are the only identified ones in the National Diaper Bank Network. And so we have been in conversation with them. We cannot develop a new diaper bank with these funds. So we have to work with the existing ones. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
This is Jonathan Hall, and I actually serve as chairman of the board for about another month for the Tulsa Diaper Bank Emergency Infant Services.
Thank you.
And yeah, so I'm really excited to see this funding available. I know it's going to go to great use. The work that those organizations do is obviously so important. So I wanted to ask, is there it sounds like you're in communication with the diaper banks. Is there anything that I can do or we as commissioners can do to help facilitate that?
Our McVie staff is currently talking with the diaper banks and to develop how they might be able to receive funding. It's been rather interesting in those conversations. They've not been offered, or at least the one in Oklahoma City has not been offered or received government dollars before. They provide all of those services through private donations, which is astounding.
Right.
And so we are working on how that might look and what we would need to put in place. So I can, I'm welcome. I'm able to discuss that with you at, in another format if, or with the people from the Tulsa Diaper Bank. We can, reach out to our McVie coordinator.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Martin, can you hear me?
Oh, at this point, we only have opportunity for commissioners to ask questions. Ms. Martin, I'm sure would accommodate any questions outside of the commission meeting.
Absolutely.
Ms. Martin, I have a question regarding the allocation of funds. Is there a divide for urban and rural?
For the McVie funds or the CB cap funds?
Both.
Okay, the McVie funds, I'm going to start there. They are provided based on the needs assessment, and there is a ranking of county need in the state of Oklahoma. And so those funds are prioritized based on that needs assessment. CB cap funding is more flexible and is available to all of the state. So organizations that may want to apply for those two opportunities, there is, there isn't a division between rural and urban. However, we want to get out into the rural communities as much as we can.
Right. My last question is regarding the family resource centers and what I know Secretary Brown and DHS is working toward with Hope Centers. Is there collaboration and how do the two complement one another?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. The community hope centers that are being developed through DHS, we are on all of those planning meetings. We have weekly meetings with Secretary Brown regarding the development of the hope centers. And we are represented in the Seesaw meetings, which that particular group is serving as the information hub for the community hope centers. What we provide to that initiative is the opportunity to become a family resource center if a group is interested. The Hope Centers are being developed on a different structure in that because they started with certain groups, those like the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Ys, I know there were some faith-based organization, child development centers that have been involved in that. We offer an opportunity if they wish to become a family resource center. That includes specific training that all the staff of those organizations have to partake in, and it is the quality standards through the network. And so we are collaborating more as a technical assistance piece for groups that wish to pursue that and become part of the network. The Hope Centers are more are being provided and I'm trying to think of the word I want, but they're more prescribed. And the Family Resource Center holds as one of its primary core that the community must initiate that process. So a gap in a community or in an existing organization that wants to become a family resource center, you can just be a food bank and be a family resource center if you participate in the standards that are required through the network. So, but yes, the answer to your question is we're collaborating closely with DHS and the Hope Centers, and we hope to provide the additional training to bring them on board as family resource centers.
Sounds like there's a high level of collaboration happening. That's great. Any final questions? Thank you for the detailed report, Ms. Martin. We appreciate it. Okay. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 10. Next, we have Ms. Carmin Tecumseh-Williams, who is the Deputy Cabinet Secretary of Community and Human Services for the Muscogee Nation, here to provide us with an update on issues related to Oklahoma's Indian Child Welfare Act. Director Jacoby, is there anything you want to add before we turn the floor over?
I just want to say that we have felt for, I'm going to say several years now here at the commission, that we wanted to strengthen our relationship with the tribes and have a representative or some kind of presence at both the meetings and our work. I hope that we can do this routinely, particularly with the McGirt case. There are all kinds of things moving and changing. And I think for us to have a relationship, a strong relationship with the tribes is important. And I just want to thank Ms. Tecumseh-Williams for showing up, but I also want to say I totally recognize that her affiliation with the Muscogee Creek Nation represents one tribe, and we have many, many tribes in this state with different issues and varying cultures and thoughts. And so I'm so glad that this may be a beginning or maybe a continuation of something we started during the past couple years, but I look forward to stronger relationships and more information coming to us from the tribe so that we can make our work between the nations and the state ever stronger and more meaningful and more impactful in a positive way for children. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Deputy Secretary Tecumseh-Williams, thank you for being here, and we're excited to hear what you have to say today.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Hopefully you can hear me better this time.
Much better.
Okay, good deal. Well, first of all, again, thank you for inviting me. I have just a real quick brief. I have just come in back to my tribe to serve as the Cabinet Deputy Secretary. And prior to that, I was at the state. I served under Justin Brown's executive office as the Tribal Affairs Liaison. So during that time, I had the opportunity to work with all 38 tribes. It was just important for us to have, as the state, to have that relationship with all tribes. And more importantly, that we were doing that face-to-face relationship with our tribes. And so, of course, when the pandemic hit, a lot of things slowed down, as for, of course, for all of us. So, but that gave me an opportunity to begin that collaboration and thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to excuse me, serve in that capacity. So, but as of current, I returned back to the tribe back in March and excited about being back. I've been doing child welfare. This is my 29th year of serving child welfare, whether it's been with the state or with a tribe. But this is my 29th year. So I'm happy to come on and give you the information that I do have. First off, I know that everyone, and I assume that everyone is aware, of course, of the ruling that took place July of 2020 with the McGirt ruling coming down and our reservation being reaffirmed as reservation land across our boundaries, throughout our boundaries. We are, and of course, I'm very well aware that, as I know each of you are too, that each tribe is very different and they are very unique. So at this time, to my knowledge, that the tribes that actually have and are currently working in regards to the McGirt ruling are the 5 tribes. 4 of the tribes have signed ICWA agreements with the state, which appears and looks quite a bit like our 4E agreements, only that it doesn't have anything to do with the foster care agreements that that tribes have with the state. With that agreement, that agreement just lays out that right now things were for our tribe. Now, each tribe does have probably a different take on some of the processes that they have in place to work with the state. And currently ours is that we will continue to do, and the state will still continue to assist us with investigations. We are, at the time of the ruling, there were 200 and, let me look, I have a number. There were 236 Muscogee Creek children within our reservation area alone. That doesn't include throughout the whole state of Oklahoma. That only included Muscogee Creek children. And so as it being Muscogee Creek children, of course, it does call for us when we are doing investigations or we're considering those that we do have jurisdiction over, that will also include all other tribes. That number would have been 384 Native American children within our reservation area. And the ICWA agreement, the ICWA agreement with the state has really truly been, it has been a good positive relationship for us, because during that time, because quite honestly, when the ruling came down, we were not at capacity to house just even our Muscogee Creek children. Of course, we had less than 50 foster homes at that time, and knew that in order for us to abide by what the federal law was saying as far as the reservation status, that was not going to be possible without children being transferred into tribal court with no homes to go to, knowing that those children would go back to homes that weren't safe for them. And so that ICWA agreement was definitely a positive thing for us. We, of course, even within our own tribe, we had several citizens that were afraid that meant that we were giving up our sovereignty, which was far, far from it. The state has always been a good partner with us. Everything's not always perfect, but the state has been always a good partner with us when it comes to our children. So we are still working on that. And again, each of the tribes have the 5 tribes that have that do have those ICWA agreements. I apologize, the 4 tribes, I believe there's 1 tribe of the 5 tribes that have not entered into that ICWA agreement as of, to my knowledge, as of today. Once that has happened with our tribe, there are lots of moving parts, like you've also mentioned too, that there are lots of moving parts, and especially now that we have federal partners that have to be involved in our day-to-day operations when it comes to investigations, especially if there are the possibility of criminal activity or criminal charges that could possibly take place, then yes, that will include our federal partners being involved, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, along, of course, with our light horse and our Attorney General's office. So there are a lot of moving parts. We currently, when the McGirt ruling took place, we had approximately 30 Indian child welfare workers, which we refer to as Children and Family Services. We have now grown to that 40 workers. By the end of our 3-year mark, we are hoping and planning to grow that program up into the 100 to 125 workers. And with that is because we will expand all of our services in order to continue to meet the needs of course of the ruling, so that we are able to provide services to our citizens. We do have the support, which is very, very, we have lots and lots of support from our council, from our chief, and from the executive office. And that from the moment that the ruling came through, they were ready to hear what our needs were. And not only is it in regards to our Indian child welfare programs, but it is also in regards to our juvenile justice program, because we do have a tribal juvenile justice that we currently, we just appointed a brand new director within the last few months. And we have currently also been working on codes and policies and procedures. And so we have all the, again, there's a lot of moving parts in regards to that. Recruitment of foster homes is a huge need in order for us to continue to look at transferring cases into tribal court. Now, the transfer of cases into tribal court isn't just an automatic that's going to happen. Looking at the needs of our children and the needs of families that are possibly going through reunification, for the fact that once they get transferred into tribal court, it's a possibility that their plan would start over, or it would take a longer time for trial reunification to occur. So we will take that in consideration, and all of those cases will be also staffed with our state partners. So we, again, we are just growing. And in that growth, it just is a lot of training to those young, maybe not as seasoned, but we are making sure that we are covering those needs to our tribal citizens within our reservation area. I know I threw that all in real quick because I know your time is running short. So is there any questions and I know I didn't hit on a lot of things, but there's a lot to cover under McGirt. So is there any questions that I can answer? If I can.
Do we have any questions? Doesn't look like we have any questions. Thank you so much, Deputy Secretary Tecumseh-Williams. We really appreciate you taking the time to update us, and we hope to have you back.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. At this point, we'll move on to item number 11. We have Ms. Jill Geiger here to present the Comprehensive State Plan for Services to Children and Youth. Director Jacoby, you want to tee this up?
Sure. So statutorily, OCCY is required to have this state plan. We have not had the resources or staff to do this for several years. Because we have some one-time money, we decided that we would hire a consultant to do a plan for us, and hopefully it will serve as a template that we can pick up in future years. It requires a lot of work on the part of other agencies providing budgets and reports and narratives about the activities of the services that they provide to children. And we very much appreciate you assisting Jill and her crew as they request records and budgets and information from you. It is a requirement that we need to fulfill, and I'm glad that we're getting back on track and able to do this. So appreciate the work that's already been started by Jill Geiger in consulting. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Annette. There is a very brief PowerPoint, I believe, that will be queued up. Is that right?
It should be.
And while it's being queued up, I'll take a moment to thank Superintendent Hofmeister for elevating the guidance counselor need. And I want to throw out a shout out to Teresa Baggett, my high school guidance counselor in Norman. Very positive, yes, very positive role model in my life at a quite impressionable time. It is awesome.
Mr. Whitfield, are you able to pull up the presentation?
I do not have the presentation.
Okay.
You can wing it. I can wing it.
Well, I'll go send it to Jim.
Can I see a copy of yours? Thank you.
If someone would email it to me quickly, I'll pull it up and we'll have it. Oh, that's a great PowerPoint.
Very easy. I can also tell you about a PowerPoint I did in college that got me kicked out of class because they were PowerPoints on a flip chart. I was just writing PowerPoint. I won't do that today unless everybody can see that.
Director Jacoby will be emailing it.
So I'll start right now, and we'll pull it up and ensure that it's available on your website and that every commission member has it. Apologies for that technical glitch. The first page of the PowerPoint starts with really the statutory requirements for this report. And I also will not read it because it is not only in statute and available for anyone to read, it's also on this PowerPoint, and it's kind of boring to read, but it is Title 10, Section 601.9. There it is. Great. And so this, commissioners, is one of the many requirements you have. Will you transition to the next slide, please? Sorry. There we are. These, and it's a little, apologies, it's a little hard to read up there, but it is Oklahoma statute Title 10, Section 601.9 for anyone who's curious about that. It outlines the requirements that are to be included in this report. I'll let you look at them. Basically, it's funding and program coordination for children's services in the state. The deliverables of my contract with OCCY are listed on the next slide, please. And basically, it is exactly what Annette said. We are already digging into agency budgets that impact children in the state. We have already started working on a collaboration plan to solicit input to all stakeholders in the state. And we are working on scheduling meetings for those now. For commissioners, heads up, this is all happening. Also, in your roles in the organizations that provide these services to children, heads up, we will be reaching out and we will need your cooperation and your staff's cooperation to provide some of this information. I do have access to the state's financial software in a read-only capacity, so I can pull a lot of it myself, but we'll want you to corroborate the information and make sure I'm not missing any programs that are pertinent. We want this to be as exhaustive, as comprehensive, as meaningful as it can be. On the next slide, you will be able to see the list of agencies and programs we have started to target. And I bring this up for two reasons. One, this is what we're looking at. Two, what are we missing? And you do not need to answer that right now, although if you have answers, I am open to them right now. I have a pen and a backup pen in the room. If
Where's OJ? Oh, it's there.
OJA should be up there.
It is.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Good. If other programs or other agencies that should be included and are not listed, again, you do not have to have that answer now, but your input on that would be appreciated. We want it to be comprehensive.
Might want to point out that this is about state dollars.
That's a great.
Right, so what you won't see on this list is local programming that is community driven with private dollars. So the idea is how to coordinate state appropriated and state administered activities. So if you're thinking about why isn't the Happy Children organization of Kingfisher County on here, it's because maybe they don't receive state or federal funding through a state agency.
That's a great distinction. Thank you, Director Jacoby. And to that point, you do see federal funded programs that are managed by state agencies included. That's a great distinction. Thank you. And so really, we wanted to be here today to let you know we're working on this to see.
District Attorney Marcy. DA Marcy, go right ahead.
Thank you. I noticed obviously that the Attorney General and the DA's prosecutorial costs are on there. And because of the way the funding is set up through the state and through the District Attorney's Council, I would encourage you to really dig deeper into those numbers, because you're not going to be able to tell by looking at the state budget what portion of an individual DA's budget, because there are 27 elected district attorneys in the state, you're not going to be able to tell what portion of that DA's budget actually goes to programs for children.
That's a great point. Thank you for the clarification. And I completely agree with you. I will be pestering my old high school guidance counselor's husband about some of that information as well.
I suspected that might be who you were referencing a moment ago. So yes, Brent Baggett is our council, the executive director of the council.
But also your point is not lost that each district attorney's breakdown might be not visible to Director Baggett either.
And I would agree with that, absolutely. Because we have our individual budgets within our office, and primarily the funding that would be the cost of our lawyers that we have to handle both our juvenile delinquent and our juvenile deprived dockets, as well as any juvenile mental health issues that arise.
I agree. So to that end, please accept this as notice that I'll be reaching out to you and your colleagues.
Very well. Thank you very much.
We want to get this right. Your point is excellent and appreciated. That's about the end of mine. We wanted to let you know that we were working on this, that we will be reaching out to you and your staffs as you chew on this over the next few weeks or months or whatever. If you see an area that we should include that we are not, please let us know. Open conversation on that front. If there are other things we should be considering that you have not heard us talk about, open door on that front as well, Director Jacoby.
Yeah, I just want to add two things. To be clear, we'll be looking for community input. Hopefully, we'll probably do some by survey and some through visiting local communities. So we may be reaching out to some of the commissioners to help us organize those activities. We have kind of an idea of where we need to go, so we get some geographical diversity and some cultural diversity. So that we have that. We have a very short time frame to put this into place. I believe we have 6 months with Ms. Geiger and crew, so that's not a lot of time. The end-all game of this is for us to understand how much money are we spending in the state of Oklahoma on children's activities, and how much money do we think we should be spending, or where do we have gaps and what do we need? Or are there ways to collaborate, coordinate, become more efficient that we hadn't thought of? So it is not simply for us to just look and go, isn't that interesting? But we need to be critical of it and think about ways that make more sense, if there are ways that make more sense. So use this as a roadmap in your leisure time to look through it and go, why was this cut? Or why is there more money here and not here? Or this seems like we're lacking, geographically. So hopefully we'll be able to provide you with some information that you can stew on for a bit. So
thank you for that addition.
Yeah.
When can we expect this to get rolling? I mean, like start the reach out?
It has started. We haven't reached out maybe to you yet, but we have been in the planning phases for a little bit now. I've got a number of the financial pieces coming together, and we'll start that direct reach out as soon as I see what the gaps are from the state system. The other issue that I would like you to be aware of is it's a detailed budget analysis and also a statutory, basically, list of what we have on the books, any duplications, any gaps. So there will be a policy component to this report as well, not just the fund money.
Ms. Geiger, what about Office of Developmental Disabilities?
Excellent addition.
Yeah. Do you see your
Rehabilitation services?
Rehab.
Yeah, but I'm not developmental disabilities.
No, she's
that's under DHS, but Oklahoma Rehab Services.
They're on there.
They are, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It should be, but thank you. Well, thank you for bringing that up. Let's verify always.
On the, I know our parent partnership board isn't up, but is there an opportunity for families, individuals with lived experiences? I know DMH has some committees and parent partnership board type things. So I would like to see an opportunity for individuals with lived experience to speak into this.
Completely agree with that. We will be trying to solicit those.
Perfect. Yeah,
That's part of
I
the
think
plan.
DHS has some sort of one.
Also, this is Joy Hofmeister. I was just wanting to say, let's set up a meeting because there are some things that aren't, obviously you didn't identify anything really under our area because it's got a lot of things that I think people assume. But for example, child nutrition is under the State Department of Education, and also Sooner Start, which is birth through 36 months for developmental delays within our infants. And toddlers is, we serve 8,000 to 10,000 children and families every year. And that is also a partnership with, we have like 63 employees, and the Department of Health has, I think, about 80. And I don't see Sooner Start on either of those, but there is, of course, federal dollars, but we have at least 14 million in our budget on that. So beyond then the nearly 40 million, I'm sorry, for 40,000 4-year-olds that we have in district preschool programs. If you're looking at just some of, I was trying to decide, are you looking at all ages 0 through 18, or there'll be some other overlap with like rehabilitation services as well for those up through 2021.
Excellent clarification, Superintendent. And part of that omission was for space and timing,
Sure.
but your point is also not lost. That the Department of Education detailed programmatic budgets will be identified in a final report, but pretty much your entire budget serves
Sure.
children 0 to 18 in the state.
Absolutely.
We will, I think it is pertinent for this commission and the public in general to understand a little bit more granularly. And so child nutrition and Sooner Start are definitely two of the programs that will be identified. Thank you for that clarification.
Very good.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. All right, moving right along. Ms. Harden, OCCY's legislative liaison, busy at the Capitol, 1 week left.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. It's great to be here and to be at a meeting live in person. I will try to make this brief. Like Commissioner Laird just said, the plan is to wrap up session next week, hopefully. Our bills have completely gone through the process, and I'll go over each one of them briefly. We had House Bill 2311 that makes juvenile detention facilities the initial placement for all children. That bill was signed by the governor on May the 7th and becomes effective November 1st. We have House Bill 2312 that will allow OJ standing to raise the issue of competency at any time prior to or during delinquent proceedings. The governor signed the bill on May 3rd and becomes effective on November 1st. This next one stings a little. It was our first request bill that has ever been vetoed. It was House Bill 2313 that was going to restore some of our oversight duties to allow us to do regular inspections on private facilities and shelters. Subsequently, it passed the House and Senate, and the governor vetoed it on April 26th. The bill author is going to circle back around with the Secretary of State after session is over and kind of see maybe what things can be done to remedy any concerns that the governor had about that bill, so that we can move forward with it in the future. We had House Bill 2317 that will establish a grievance procedure for juveniles that are in adult facilities. The governor signed that on April 22nd, and it will become effective on November 1st. We had Senate Bill 987, which basically clarified that the court can order forensic interviews or an interview of a child and the transportation during a child abuse investigation. Again, that was just to kind of clarify that the court has that ability to order those things to hopefully prevent kids from unnecessarily coming into the system. And then we had Senate Bill 537. It was filed, but the bill author decided not to run it. He had several other bills and was worried about time constraints. That bill was going to shore up a few things in the OCCY administration rules. It was a few things. It was going to extend the PARB appointment for the members from 3 to 5 years. It's going to remove the requirement that the director must seek advice and approval from the commission regarding employment of staff that sometimes can hold things up and keep us from hiring. It was going, and most importantly, it was going to add a commissioner that was well-versed and had expertise in the Indian Child Welfare Act. As we all just discussed, and what's happened with McGirt, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So that we're going to keep trying. The bill author has indicated that he will refile it again at next session. If he's not interested, I will pursue somebody else to file it. And we received approximately 2.5 million for our budget request, and happy to report we received about a 9.3% increase for 3 full-time positions. So that part went well during session. And that's about it. I'm looking forward to jumping in and looking at legislation for next session. So if anybody has any ideas, feel free to let us know.
Jennifer, you might want to mention the seatbelt bill because they voted on that too.
That was on my list. Senate Bill 339 was going to require that children ages 8 through 17 be required to wear seatbelts in the back seat. We are the only state in the nation that does not have such a requirement. The bill passed the Senate floor and it got to the House and failed in committee. There's been some concern that it may be government overreach, over-regulating. I heard concerns about that some don't think a 17-year-old should necessarily have to be seat belted. I recently spoke to the bill author, and the next time he runs it, he may lower it to 16, between the ages of 8 and 16, to make it more appealing to some. So I don't know, it's the third time he's attempted to run this legislation. So he's gonna keep trying. So yes, sorry, I forgot about that bill. It was on my list. So, does anybody have any questions?
I think so. Thank you, Ms. Harden, for all your work this session.
Thank you.
All right, Director Jacoby, I'll turn it over to you for your report.
Well, first I want to direct you to the written report. I'm happy to entertain any questions about anything there or anything else. I do want to expand a little bit on the database issue because that seems to just be a thorn in our side. Just want to give you a really brief overview, a little more detail than what was in the written report. We filed a formal request with the Office of Management and Enterprise Services in October of 2019 to start the process for building a database, whether they built it or we went out and sought vendors. And then of course the pandemic hit and no one could have predicted that. So everyone pivoted and had to figure out how to get home and how to do telework. And OMES had a lot of people having to focus on that. Totally understand. So we started this process again in January. It was part of our budget request, meaning that we weren't asking for additional money, but we are trying to explain and be super transparent that we are holding on to a lot of money in anticipation of having to spend it on a database overhaul. If you recall, if you were here, and I know we have some new commissioners, in I believe 2019, maybe late 18, we met with a consultant at the suggestion of Secretary Brown. He was gracious enough to send over an IT consultant that they had been using. And he had told us that the $250,000 that we had stored up at the time was not even close to what we were going to need. So we proceeded to squirrel away a bunch of money. So if we lapsed salaries or didn't spend here, we just socked it away. So we have about, my guess is somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000 available for database work. And we're anticipating it to be that much or more. I'm going to tell you, we started this process again with OMES in January, told them that we needed it expedited. We needed to have this project underway, and we would really love it to have been completed, but underway by June 30th. So these funds that we've encumbered could be used. We met with, at their direction, a particular vendor. I'm going to be honest, I have not understood the process. And I've done a major database overhaul where I spent over $1 million at the Department of Health in a previous life. And so I understood the process. We met with vendors. There was a scope, or there were specs put out, and there were proposals sent back. And then we met with vendors and we had further dialogue, and then we chose a vendor and moved on. This process has not been clear to me, and I've been very confused, I'll be honest. We met with a vendor, and then after meeting with that particular vendor, we said, well, what about other folks? Because I'm not understanding that they have expertise in social services and in what we do. I get they can build a database, but do they know what we do? Because here at OCCY, we don't have an evaluation team. We don't have IT experts. So we don't even know the right questions to ask. So we're going to need people with subject matter expertise, as well as just the technical ability to guide us and shepherd us through this process. And when I started questioning that, they went, oh, well, let's get some other vendors for you to talk to. So we met with another vendor, and we specifically said we also wanted OU to be considered, because we were already in the process of having them work on the post-adjudication review board database as a pilot. And so they reached out to them as well. We met with 3 different vendors, I believe, but we were, no. We did not meet with 3 different vendors. We only met with the one. And then OMES came back to us with a formal presentation and made a recommendation. The estimated costs for doing our database varied widely and did not seem to me, it was mind-boggling. The group that they wanted us to go with estimated they could do our work for about $21,000. $21,000. The high end was about 140, 150, which bells and whistles went off. Like, do they understand what we need? And how could it be that 250 a few years ago was not nearly enough, and now someone's telling me for 1/10 of the cost, I could have already had this done. So it became clear that they had only talked to them about the Office of Juvenile Systems Oversight and not the entire agency. We do have a database for the Office of Juvenile Systems Oversight. It is beyond archaic, and it doesn't allow for analysis. So I think that they had only talked to them about what they could clearly understand. And for those areas of our agency that you be building from scratch, they didn't have a clue. So we started a process of visiting with these vendors and trying to help them better understand our needs. But it has really pushed us back. And even after that, we've had questions about, did they have the subject matter expertise? And I know all of us who've done this work before, you get used to seeing the same vendors pop up, right? And you're like, oh, why isn't so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so on the list? And they weren't on our list. So that kind of bothered me too. And it's not that I had someone, in mind. It was just curious that the regulars weren't on the list. So that became clear that we were going to have to hire subject matter expertise to help the people building, which of course just increased the cost, which meant I didn't really have true costs. And we also found out later that they didn't understand that they were going to be hosting and maintaining our database, which I'm still confused about, because we thought we were perfectly clear that this was all needing to be rolled together. So all this to say is we've made a decision late in the game that we're going to go with the University of Oklahoma. They understand what we do. They have the subject matter expertise. They work with several of you around the table to host projects and work for you as well. We've been happy with what they've done so far for the post-adjudication review board. Our struggle is now that I'm fearful, and they are as well, that we won't be able to get a contract in place before the end of the fiscal year. I not only wanted that contract in place, I wanted the work to have already been started. So this is disappointing to us. Please don't think that we have not tried to be on top of this. It's not the blind leading the blind, but it has been a struggle because every presentation creates more questions for us. And I just feel like we've been in the circular loop and haven't been able to get out. So we're going to pull the trigger. And I want to be clear, the University of Oklahoma was the highest bid, but I also think that their understanding of our work was more inclusive. They believe, though, that their original estimate was only for OJSO, so that cost is going to go up. And they have provided us with a scope of work and a new estimate. We can cover those costs. That's not a problem. but I just am disappointed that I don't have more to show you at this point. So I wanted to be very upfront about that. And if you need more detail, please let me know. We will be sure to tell legislators over the summer what has transpired, because I know that was an issue in our Senate budget hearing, not in the House. We are not trying to hole away money for, I don't know, any other purpose. I just want to make sure we get something that is useful so we can show the worth that we, of our work here at OCCY. So I'd be glad to answer any questions about that subject matter, if you have any. Okay. And then secondly, I just want to say what an honor it is to work here at OCCY. I know this is not my appointment time, but I appreciate the Personnel Committee's review and thoughtful comments when I met with them. This year has been a struggle, and I certainly don't think it was a banner year for me or our work. I think we were trying to figure out how to pivot and do it in new ways. What we had planned for the year, certainly, I wouldn't say was all achieved. But we did get through it, and we do have new hires, and we do have work that's moving forward, and I feel really good about that. But I look forward to this year being more productive and more things being finished and not started, just started. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the honor of working here, and continue to want to reach out to all of you commissioners. And please know you can call me about anything at any time.
Thank you, Director Jacoby. We know it's not for lack of effort on the database piece of you or your staff. You've kept me well in the loop, and I appreciate that all along the way. So,
she loves database updates.
I do. It's important work. And I do encourage all commissioners to review the director's 10, 11-page report. A lot of thought goes into that, very detailed. So please do take the time to review that. Do we have any new business to discuss? I'll pause and give everybody a moment. Okay. All right. Do we have any commissioner announcements? All right. I'll move on to my remarks. I recognize this has been a long meeting, but I am very glad to have this hybrid version. We will be moving back to the way meetings used to be, so we will need to have a quorum in person in order to move forward. And I do encourage in-person attendance. Now, I certainly understand virtual will remain an option and necessary when it is necessary. But looking forward to our next meeting on Friday, June 25th at 9 a.m. I want to congratulate Director Holt on her Senate confirmation, full-fledged Director of the Office of Juvenile Affairs. Congratulations and well-deserved. And then I want to thank all the commissioners who signed up for committees. There's still time to do so. You will receive emails from the staff liaisons as those meetings are scheduled based on the committee overview that was sent out prior. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Director Front. Second. Thank you. And there's no vote necessary. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.